Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining the American Council on Exercise for this live panel discussion. My name is Jackie Crockford and I will be your host. And as you can see, we have three panelists that are joining us today. Wave hi, guys. We are very excited here at the American Council on Exercise to be hosting this panel discussion. Today we're going to be talking to three small business owners who own businesses in the fitness space, and we're going to hear from them about sort of what they've done during this COVID-19 time to adjust and pivot their businesses to stay functioning and keep serving their clients during this interesting time that we're all in together. So first, we'll just take a few seconds to introduce each one of them. Ashley, I'm going to start with you. We are joined by Ashley Selman. Ashley is joining us from the Bay Area, and she is the owner of Evolution Trainers. Good morning, Ashley.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So we're going to talk about your business here in just a second. Let's meet our other panelists. Mike Diebler is our next panelist. Mike is joining us from San Diego, ACE's hometown, if you will. So Mike, thanks for joining us. You are the owner of San Diego Premier Training, right?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to do this.
Thanks, Mike. And last but not least, we have Dan Kleppner. Dan is joining us from Washington State. Another place that I've lived in this country. So Dan, thanks for joining us as the owner of Cutting Edge Fitness. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we're going to get started with each of our panelists this morning by just hearing a little bit about their specific businesses. So hopefully as you guys are watching this today, you can glean some information about what other business owners are doing during this time. So let's hear first. Ashley, I'm going to come to you. Tell us just a little bit about your business, Evolution Trainers, and kind of how you've gotten to this point of owning that business within the fitness industry.
Okay, great. So Evolution Trainers, we opened about 15 years ago. In the Bay Area. We're a fairly large studio. We're about 13,000 square feet, but we started in a smaller location, and we, about 6 years ago, scaled up to a larger location. We're primarily one-on-one training. All of my trainers are independent contractors. They're actually sole proprietor business owners. They have their own brands and their own businesses, and my goal as an owner is to help them all be as successful as possible by creating a great community. We have a very good team environment. We do some marketing of Evolution to help everyone grow. We also have a therapeutic side of our business, so we have physical therapists, massage therapists, chiropractor, acupuncture, all in the same location. We also have a small group program. That's a smaller part of our business. We don't do large classes or things like that, but we do personal training and small group, and then some wellness services. Been in business 15 years. Before that, I was a college track coach for a few years, thinking that was sort of the direction I was going to go, and I got into personal training on the side to make ends meet, make some extra money, and then realized how great of a career it was. It was the late 90s, so I'm dating myself a little bit, but personal training was kind of up and coming. It wasn't really a career yet. You know, it wasn't what people thought of as this career, but I got in with this great company that was pretty cutting edge at the time, and realized it was a great career path for me. Got some business experience. I was able to be a manager and open a studio as an employee of that business, and I learned a ton from that. Super valuable experience. Gave me the kind of knowledge and learned kind of the things you needed to understand to own a business. Obviously learned a lot along the way as well, but gave me enough kind of background and confidence to try to go out on my own. And so yeah, here we are 15 years later. Time flies.
Right. When you're having a good time, it sounds like. Thanks a lot, Ashley. That's great. So yeah, we're just going to get to know each of our panelists here and learn a little bit about their business. Mike, I'm going to come to you next. So Mike, you're the owner of San Diego Premier Training here in North County of San Diego. So let's hear a little bit about your business, kind of how you got there, and what it is that you do with San Diego Premier Training.
Sure. So we've been in business 11 years now. Very similar to what you just heard, our model. We have kind of a hybrid approach. Where I started, I think like many, after I finished school, I knew I wanted to go this path. So I quickly got certified and just started working with clients wherever I could. Worked at a few gyms, studios, and then I eventually knew exactly what I wanted to do. So kind of funny, back in 2008 is when I started, when kind of we were in another not so great economic situation. Survived that and have been going strong for the last 11 years. And our facility is a 5,000 square foot fitness studio. We also have some subleasers and we also have employees. So we have a little bit of both in our facility, as well as the therapy side. So we do have a PT clinic that works with us as well. Our model is we work with primarily general population weight loss, but I think like most people, we serve lots of different types of clients, from athletes and even kids and older population. And we do this primarily through group training, semi-private training, and private training. So we do a little bit of everything, a pretty equal blend to make up our business. So that's pretty much how I got started and how our business operates.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. I've been to your facility as well, and I just think it's one of the coolest places. So I've enjoyed San Diego Premier training myself. And then we have Dan. So Dan Kleppner, once again, joining us from Washington. He's the owner of Cutting Edge Fitness. Dan, tell us a little bit about your business and how you got to where you are, maybe some of the primary clientele that you serve.
Yeah, so we have 2 locations here in the Seattle area, one in Kirkland and one in Issaquah. Then I actually own another gym with a business partner in Montana as well, in Butte, Montana. There's a guy that I played football with in college and was good friends, and he was doing engineering for a long time and got burnt out of it and started to get into the personal training field and saw what we were doing in Seattle and wanted to bring me on board with that. So him and I started the gym together in Montana as well. Just as far as my path, I've been pretty fortunate. It's just kind of been a natural evolution. I was a personal trainer at a big gym here in Seattle right out of college with Jackie, actually, for a little while. And then from there, I started to work at a small training style gym, kind of learned the business side of things from there, and then opened up my own gym here about 5 years ago, and just have been really lucky throughout those 5 years to work with some really great mentors that have helped me a lot, guys like Thomas Plummer and Rick Mayo and Jason Glass and some of those guys. And we primarily do small group, semi-private training, and we also have large group classes as well. And then at our facility in Issaquah, I share that space with a TPI Golf Pro and also a TPI Medical Pro, who's a chiropractor, and we have a big golf field there. We have 2 indoor TrackMan simulators there, the chiropractic office, and we kind of do the holistic TPI golf fitness approach there, along with our regular small group personal training.
Very nice. Thanks, Dan. So it sounds like everybody here on the panel is a little bit similar, but a little bit different, right? Depending on where we are located in the country and the clients that we serve. So hopefully, as you guys are listening and watching here today, you can kind of pick from each of these great experts about sort of what is similar in your situation and apply it maybe in your world and see how that might line up. We're going to talk to each of our panelists now about some of the pivots that they have made and choices and sort of directional changes maybe that they've had to go through as we all navigate this very interesting time together. So Ashley, I'm going to start with you again. You know, during this time, as we all know, many gyms and facilities have been shut down. Most of them are doors closed, right? So we want to talk to each of our panelists about sort of what they've done to keep serving their clients. So Ashley, tell us a little bit about kind of the primary clientele that you serve once again, and then sort of what you've done as a business owner to pivot so that you can help serve them during this time.
Sure. Yeah. So our primary clientele, similar to what Mike said, we really work with a wide range of ages and people. I would say we're in the Bay Area, right in the middle of Silicon Valley. So we have a lot of tech workers, a lot of executives, kind of the 40 to 70-year-old is our sweet spot of demographic. And I think we don't necessarily, weight loss is not necessarily the reason people come to us. It's more just overall health, wellness, really optimizing energy, correcting postural issues from people sitting all day. So we kind of position ourselves as expert level trainers because all of our trainers, as I mentioned, are independent. They have a lot of experience. So our average trainer has probably more than 10 years experience. So we kind of really position ourselves that we have an expert level of knowledge to help with any kind of, you know, pain, movement dysfunction. We have, like I said, physical therapy combined with our training. So that's kind of our niche and who we market towards. We have sort of three primary revenue streams, which kind of is the way we've been servicing our clients. So we have the training and wellness portion, which as a business, we're making income through the rent of our staff. So our staff is serving those people. My goal as the owner is to help the staff be successful. So when COVID hit and we had to close our doors, our staff, I tried to coach our staff in pivoting to help them get online, which many of them had never done, you know, virtual training or use technology in that way. So kind of coach them through getting on Zoom or FaceTime and really staying connected with their clients as much as possible. That didn't bring any revenue into the gym. They're making their own revenue, but my goal as the owner is to help them continue to be successful through this time and continue to be able to sustain themselves. So, you know, when we are able to open back up, they're in a good place to come back and they're still connected to their clients. So helping them stay connected. Our other two revenue streams, we do have a small group program, and that's what we've really been focused on during this time to keep intact. So we've been doing live Zoom, group Zooms with our small group program, which we've really tried to continue to connect with our groups in that way, so that on the live Zooms, we're continuing to have conversations, be able to coach them, give corrections, call out names. So it's not so much a live stream that they're watching, but they're actually there with a coach, and we're trying to connect as much as we can. And we've gotten a lot of great feedback on how much they're liking that feeling of community still. Several of them have said it's like the one thing they look forward to in their day is to wake up and have the workout, because it gives them a little bit of semblancy of routine and normalcy. So we've done, I think, a pretty good job with that. It took us, a couple of weeks to really figure out the tech and make sure we were doing a good job with it. But people were pretty understanding and patient, and it's people we've known for a long time, so they really want us to succeed as well. That's what I've really found through this time, is our clients really want us to succeed, and so it's a really mutual kind of, we're trying to help each other in this time, which is great. Our third revenue stream is memberships. Clients just pay for the facility membership. So that was a tough one because they're not coming to the facility. So what are we going to charge them for? So we gave them an option. If they wanted to continue paying their membership, we are providing multiple recorded workouts each week, so that they can have programs to follow. It's not the live recording. So we try to create a different value, because those are different price points people are paying. So we're giving more, delivering a little more personal service to the people paying more for the small groups, and then we're delivering multiple recordings a week to our memberships. And most people have continued to keep their membership and have been very, they've loved getting the workouts, and are, like I said, are really wanting to us to be successful as well. So that's kind of how we've pivoted in those three areas. And it hasn't been perfect. We've been figuring out as we go, but I think our clients knowing that we're doing everything we can to try to handle this time has really gone a long way. And like I said, they're continuing to support us. We've had a couple people lose their jobs, and so we've allowed them to get the recordings anyway, or be on the live, so we can continue to help them. So really, it's just like, how can we help you? And it's really a good, positive feeling that way.
Very nice. And it sounds like with that mutual relationship, that's something that'll kind of continue throughout this time and then beyond, right? So you maintain those memberships for a really long time. That sounds great.
Exactly. Yeah, I think staying close in contact with your people right now, and just trying to be there. I mean, our job is to, help people feel good and help with their wellness. And so right now people need that so much, just the connection and the relationships. And so we're trying to really lean into that. And I think that will pay off, in the long run, of keeping those connections going.
That's great. I love it. Let's hear a little bit more from Dan and Mike. Mike, I'm going to come to you next. Just talk to us a little bit about some of the pivots that you guys have made around, serving the clients that you serve. So I know that you have, you serve a broad range of clients, but tell us again who those clients are primarily, and then sort of what you've done to pivot so that you can serve them during this time.
Sure. So like I said, we work with our major client is that general population trying to maybe lose a little bit of weight, feel better. And so that's most of the people that have been working with us online. So I also, before this happened, for the past few years, have been working with kind of a niche market of obstacle course racers. So I do have experience with online training. I've been doing it the past few years. So luckily I was already kind of prepared in doing this. I just had to expand into a much larger scale than I was currently doing. So at least I had a little bit of that awareness of things I was going to have to do. Just adding different things like Ashley said, like live was not something I was currently doing. So we had to add that into our mix. So we pretty much shifted right away. The first thing we did, we knew equipment companies were being just attacked with orders. So like a lot of other gyms did, we allowed our clients to come in and check out whatever equipment they needed for home. So at least when we went to our live workouts and our recorded workouts, we knew they'd have at least a few things to help them follow along. So that was at least to give them a head start on some things. We actually worked out a deal with an equipment company as well, where we could put together home packages, and they were giving discounts to our clients. So it was a nice kind of special thing that we could offer them. So if we didn't have it, or maybe we ran out of all the 10-pound weights or whatever it was, they could order certain things and have it delivered, so they'd be ready to go as soon as it got there. From there, I think like many, we shifted online, and we tried to keep things as regular as we could in terms of the schedule, trying to stick to pretty close to what they were doing, the classes, the privates, but it all pretty much stayed the same. We kept doing private training, so any client that wanted to continue, we did our Zoom one-on-one coaching sessions. Anyone that was doing semi-private, we would do the same thing, keep that consistent. And then we just shifted our group training a little bit to kind of spread it out throughout the day so we can hit multiple people. Some people, their life wasn't as affected as much in terms of schedule. They're still working, so we try and still do the best we can to have classes that'll work around work schedule. And others, whenever we want to go, they can go. So we just wanted some variety there so they can continue as best they could. On top of that, though, we wanted to be a source for them to get valuable information and really stay accountable, because I think we're all in the same situation, and for many, or for most, their schedule is totally thrown off. The routine is totally thrown off, and we're all creatures of habit, and whether that's good or bad. So we're trying to help them establish better habits and get back into a routine. So we did, once we kind of all got comfortable with the online classes and sessions, we wanted to really put together a habit program for them to get back on track. And that has been something that's worked really well. And we've done different challenges in the past, so it wasn't necessarily anything totally different than what we've done before, but everyone was in dire need of something like this to keep them on track. So that's something that has gone very well, just to kind of reestablish some new guidelines, your new norm right now while you're at home. And really the main thing is following up. So one of the first things we did once were put in this situation, we had a staff member, because we're trying to support our staff as best we can, reach out to every single member, and with a phone call. We're emailing and we're doing Facebook groups, but not everybody does those things. So making sure we made it a point to reach out to every single client and make sure they knew what their options were. So if they were doing small group training, they can continue their membership. If they were doing private, they can still continue it. If maybe they can't do private anymore because financially they've been affected, but they have the option to switch to group and follow along that way. So we were just doing the best we could to be a valuable resource for our clients to maintain a connection with, and just getting in front of them however we could, even doing things like happy hours. That was something that we did once a month. The first Friday of every month was our happy hour, and we would pick local businesses to help support and meet up, and just kind of non-gym setting, just get outside or get outside of the gym and do something fun. So we've tried to continue that. So we still get on a Zoom call and we hang out and we talk, and we've played games. There's fun games you can do online with, from like Pictionary and trivia ones, just to kind of be in front of them and help manage through all of this. So those are some of the big things that we've done throughout this.
That's great. I really like that you've continued to kind of maintain that connection. It sounds like you and Ashley are in the same boat there. That connection piece is so important. And I know Dan has done a little bit of that too. So Dan, let's hear from you about how cutting edge fitness in Washington has sort of pivoted during this time. I know you guys have done a pretty good job of maintaining membership in your facility. So let's hear about the primary clients and then what you guys have done.
Yeah, so I'll kind of hammer home a lot of the same points as Ashley and Mike. It sounds like we're all doing stuff fairly similarly, but we did the same thing. You know, our clientele is very similar to Ashley's. We're kind of a mini Bay Area here as far as the tech stuff goes. So we have a lot of tech companies here in Seattle as well. So our normal clientele is kind of that 40 to 70-year-old clientele, and then we do have a little bit of a niche clientele with the golfers as well. But just like Mike and Ashley did, we pivoted to the online stuff right away. Went to Zoom training sessions. We kind of found, like Ashley did as well, that our people liked the small group stuff a little bit better. It was easy for us to coach them, interact with them, and maintain kind of what we do in the gym here. And so most of our sessions that we offer are in that small group, up to 4 people per coach. And then we run a couple large group classes throughout the week, but most of it's a small group, and it has given our clients some sense of normalcy because they are seeing a lot of the same people in that group that they would see in the gym and able to connect with them and talk with them. And like I said, these are just unprecedented times for everybody. So we're just trying to create some sense of normalcy, some sense of community, and just do our part. Some other things we're doing is just trying to help our community a lot as well. We're posting every day on our social media, just workouts to do at home, emailing every day. We've collaborated here with a lot of other health professionals, PT chiros and stuff like that, doing like weekly webinars with them, Zoom calls and stuff. And then kind of like Mike, we try to keep the social aspect of it as well, and have done some game nights with our clients, happy hours, stuff like that, and really just trying to keep things as normal as possible. We also rented out equipment to our clients, just like Mike did as well, just to make sure that they had what they needed, and then also set up a deal with another equipment company as well that our clients could purchase if needed. But yeah, I mean, just kind of hammering home the point of just community, staying connected to our clients. If we weren't seeing somebody on a Zoom session, we're also emailing out weekly workouts to the members so we can see through constant contact who opened those emails. So if somebody wasn't on Zoom and they didn't open up the email, then we made sure we were calling them or texting them and reaching out to them as well. So we kind of have a chain of command of communication and making sure that there's no member left behind and that everybody's getting followed up with and communicated with. We have kept our pretty much our whole staff here throughout the closing on board. And so that's been a big thing that I wanted to really try to make sure to do, is take care of my staff and keep them employed during this time. And we've been fortunate that we haven't had very much of a drop in revenue, and we've worked with our landlords to defer rent and stuff like that. So we've been able to maintain our staff, and they've been helping out a lot through this process as well.
That's great. That's a perfect segue into my next question for each of you guys to understand. As small business owners, there is, I imagine, a sense of responsibility for the people that you employ or that report to you, or that independent contractors within your business. So let's talk a little bit about serving those people. And they're not your clients, but perhaps, like I said, you do feel a little bit of sense of I need to help these people as well. So Ashley, I'll come back to you. Talk to us a little bit about sort of the, you mentioned that you have mostly independent contractors who are their own businesses within Evolution Trainers. So talk to us a little bit about how you guys have navigated sort of keeping them employed basically during this time too.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a sense of responsibility. When we were heading into the COVID-19, like just starting to understand, okay, is this real? Like, are we really going to have to maybe close? Like the decisions, I don't know how about Mike and Dan, but I just felt so much pressure during that time of like making sure we're making the right decisions, keeping people safe, but people were wanting to come in, and it just was a lot. And definitely a lot of the responsibility was around making sure, this is my team's livelihood, right? Like all of us. So so yeah, I really wanted to make sure that the team felt prepared. So I tried to do, and it was a really good opportunity for me to step up my leadership skills and really try to be proactive on communicating, letting people know what was going on, letting people know what their options were, really encouraging our trainers to stay connected with their clients. Because like they're independent, it is more their clientele, but I was just really leaning into coaching them on how they could best be successful during this time. We've continued to have weekly happy hours with our team so that we can all stay connected, answer questions, share stories, have a little bit of fun and laugh and lighten things a little bit as well. So that's worked well for us. And then coaching them also through all this really confusing, overwhelming, like what loans can you apply for if you're independent versus if you're an employee, and what are the best strategies to get that. So between the PPPs and the EIDL loan from the SBA, or can they apply for unemployment, or so that was a huge learning curve also that I went through and continue to go through, as what are the best options and for different segments. I also have a couple of full-time employees that work for me on the administrative side of the business. So I applied for a PPP loan, but haven't got that yet. So ended up having them furloughing them and going on unemployment, which ended up being a good option because they're making, they're getting decent money through the unemployment because of that $600 a week extra bump that the government is giving right now, which was huge. So yeah, I mean, I think we've done a reasonable job. It's again, it was very confusing to navigate all of that. And I think the best thing as a leader is just be honest, over communicate, offer help and support as much as possible, answer questions, and just let everyone, everyone's in this together. So just letting people know that you got their back as much as you can, and, being a resource where you can.
That's great. Thanks, Ashley. I really enjoy that you guys have continued to do the happy hours with your staff too. I think that's great to maintain that connection and sense of community within the business itself. So thanks for sharing that. And Mike, let's talk to you. I know you're a little bit in the same boat as Ashley. You've got some independent contractors and people that operate as their own business. Tell us a little bit about what you've done and sort of how you've navigated keeping those people who are kind of as a part of your business.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody, it's been crazy, and I think we're on plan D or E or F by now, and it's going to continue that way. So just like Ashley was saying, I think being open, we let them know everything that's going on and trying to be crystal clear, like this is the path that we think we're going to take right now. We'll see what happens tomorrow. And that's exactly what's been happening. So we did the best we could to keep paying all of our employees. A lot of them, we had to reduce hours just because they were working less. Not every client was still meeting online, but we at least let them know we're going to pay you for every hour that you work, just like we were at the studio. And our admin, actually, she was part-time, but she's just as busy because I'm sending her everything now with contacting clients, with getting all of our workouts online and organizing our whole online portal. We're trying to keep her as busy as possible to maintain through all this. And we've continued to do that from the start. So we're really happy we've been able to support her through all of this. For our trainers, kind of in the same boat, we paid them as long as we could. And then we got to a point where it didn't make sense for us to pay what we were paying them anymore, where they were going to make either the same or even more in some cases on unemployment. So letting them know that that was probably within their best interest. And I'm learning all these terms, which I've furlough and unemployment are never words that I've used in the past decade with my business, but I'm learning fast and understanding all of it. So that's the path that we started to take. And just like Ashley said, we applied for the PPP. We found out this week that we did get it. We haven't been funded yet, but we are going through that process. So now we're telling our employees that, hold on, don't collect unemployment yet, because we're going to be able to get you back on payroll, which is good news. As soon as the money's in, I'll breathe a little bit more, but at least that's the path that we're taking right now. And they know that they're holding tight and still maintaining that path. So that's really what we've done with them, and trying to give them any admin hours that we we potentially can. Like everybody's doing, we're trying to not just do the live workouts, but do recorded workouts. We're doing tutorials, how to do a kettlebell swing and all the things that we wanted to do in the past, but didn't necessarily have the time. Now we have time to really break down exercises and lesson plans and all of these things. So we're letting them know, hey, put these together and you can get some admin hours. It's not going to be the same rate as your training rate, but at least it's something to maintain through all of this. So that's been helpful for everybody. And then with very similar with our subleasers, making sure that we're just being as supportive as we can. A lot of them did borrow equipment so they can do follow along workouts on their own and maintain their as many sessions as they could. Same idea, we're not getting any revenue from them while they're not using the facility, but we're just trying to be supportive as we can and letting them know about the different loans that they potentially can apply for and whatever might be. So just doing the best we can to keep everybody afloat through this.
And like you said, we're all in this together, right?
Exactly.
And I think Dan has seen it as well and had to navigate through this. It sounds like, Dan, you've been able to continue to pay your employees for the most part. So talk to us a little bit about what you've done with your business.
Yeah, so we're, I guess, slightly different than Mike and Ashley. Everybody here is a W-2, so we don't have any independent contractors. So one thing I've learned in owning multiple businesses is the hardest thing is finding good people. And I think any small business owner can attest to that. So after, talking to my mentors and business coaches, one of the biggest things that I wanted to make sure we did when all this happened was, keep our staff normal pay and on board as much as we can, because we recognize that they're a big part of what we try to do business wise here. And then I also do, like a lot of traveling and speaking and stuff like that. So I'm only really training, 5-10 hours a week. And so for our business to be able to continue to operate, I need our staff in place and need them on board and need to make sure that everything's running smoothly without me to some extent. And so we have 2 salaried coaches that are our managers at each location. So we kept them on board, normal salary right away. I meet with them once a week. We actually meet in the gym. We keep our 6 feet apart and do our social distancing, but we still meet once a week and kind of game plan the week as far as what we're doing on social media, what we're doing on Zoom, what clients we're reaching out to, all that kind of stuff. And then our hourly people, we kind of gave the option to most of our hourly people are part-time, so they have other jobs as well. So some of them took less hours with us, more hours with their other job, or vice versa, but we gave them the option to continue their normal hourly with us and their normal hours. And then we have one employee that we furloughed, and that was a guy that was just more of like a front desk guy that we really just didn't have a lot for him to do while we're shut down. So he did go on furlough, but the rest of the people we were able to keep. And just like Ashley and Mike said, I think the biggest thing is just being transparent. When we met each week, I told them, I'm like, hey, this is the amount of revenue we got to keep to be able to continue to pay you guys your normal salaries. If we drop too much, we will have to adjust and stuff like that. And then we did at one location got funded with the PPP last week, which was great. The other one we haven't. So that obviously helps as well. But even prior to the PPP, we were still paying all of our staff. And but I've been transparent with them every week, letting them know the numbers and revenue we got to hit to continue to pay them their normal stuff, and just try to be as transparent as possible.
That's great. It sounds like communication for all 3 of you guys has been a big part of this process. Yeah. So that's a great thing to have continue on. I think a lot of the questions actually that I'm seeing come in through this live questions box with our viewers right now are, along the lines of what happens now, what happens next, sort of as this process is unfolding and continuing to evolve. So that's where we're going to go next, is to some of those questions from our viewers right now. So I'm going to ask that to each of you. If you guys have thought about, from a business perspective, sort of what this looks like, from a reopening, and I'll just kind of plant the seed that obviously we all have to continue to listen to the medical experts and CDC guidelines for, proper protocols to follow. However, each business is its own business. So I'm curious from you guys, as are a lot of our viewers that are watching right now, sort of in your mind, what do things look like for you as we come out of this situation, and how does reopening look, and just anything that you guys are thinking about as far as moving forward from this. Ashley, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, great question. I feel like the last, what have we been doing this, like almost 6 weeks now? For the first few weeks was just like figuring everything out, all the stuff we've talked about up to this point. And just, I feel like the last week or two has been like, okay, now what are we going to do moving forward? And yes, to your point, we need to follow guidelines, but I know for me, I want to go above and beyond the guidelines and really make sure we're keeping everybody safe, our staff and our clients, and also just making sure our staff and clients feel confident. Some people aren't going to want to come in right away, and some people probably shouldn't, the older population or compromised population, but we want the people that do want to come back, because we know there's a lot of people saying, we can't wait to come back, to feel very confident and very safe when they walk into our facility, that we're doing everything in our power to keep it a safe space. So we're looking at our sanitation protocols. We have 2 entries to our facility, so we're going to be closing one entry and having everyone just come in the front door. We're going to have the sanitary mat soaked in a sanitary solution, so people wipe their feet on a wet sanitized mat and sanitize their hands before they walk into the facility. And then we'll have a waiting area with 6 feet distance. We're going to have 2 check-in locations with plexiglass. We will consider having our clients wear masks. Our staff will wear masks. We actually got some masks made with our logos just to give out to people, to kind of make it more of a fun or positive thing around the facility, maybe make it kind of funny. And but we will follow those guidelines and encourage that. It is, the airborne factor is an issue. We're discontinuing any of our air circulating machines, so our assault bikes, our rowers. We may consider putting some of those outside if there's enough space, but we don't want to be stirring up air more than necessary. We're looking at blocking off certain pieces of equipment, like equipment that's close together. Maybe it's every other piece of equipment that can be used instead of, what's typically used. Things like that. We're going to be, the one big thing for us is then, okay, how are we going to deal with schedule with our staff if we need to limit the number of people? So I'm still trying to figure out that exactly, but I will be prioritizing our full-time staff, having people submit their schedules in advance so we can know in advance who's going to be coming in the facility and also how many people, and then kind of stagger the schedule so that I don't know what that number is going to look like yet, but so we're not going over whatever that maximum number is to have in our space. So, I mean, a lot of things to consider, but really going through, cleanliness, check-in process. We might be doing forehead temperatures. That's something we're considering, maybe a small questionnaire for clients as they check in. So yeah, I don't want to, there's lots of things to consider, but those are kind of all the buckets. How do we check in? What's the scheduling going to be like? What services? We're not going to be doing any of our groups initially. We're just going to stick to one-on-one in the beginning, and then kind of gradually go from there and see how things progress, both with county requirements and also just how it feels in the facility. So we'll start a little bit conservative and kind of go from there.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thanks for sharing that, Ashley. I think, and as you're talking through this, I can kind of feel you. Okay, so we still kind of don't know, right? There's a lot still up in the air, and I think that's true for, all of us as we go through this together. So great thoughts that you're having, I think, to share with people to consider. Mike, do you have anything that you want to share about sort of what this looks like for your facility after this is kind of, or as we come out of it, let's say?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of very similar things there. Same idea. We have 2 entrances. And what we're doing is we're going to be splitting people up. So our PT clinic is going to be using the front entrance because that's where they treat people. And our training clients are going to be using the back entrance. So we'll just have 2 entrances come and go from each of those. So at least we don't have too many people coming and going at the same time. Obviously, we're going to, once the guidelines are released on how many people per location, we're going to do everything scheduling wise to match that. We're altering our schedules a little bit to allow for a window of a client that just finished to leave and have a few minutes to not cross paths with anybody, and then the next client can come in. We have clients that like to come early and warm up and stretch. We're going to have to discontinue that and say you're going to have to come at your scheduled time, just so we don't have too many people that weren't on the schedule in floating around. So that's going to be the big thing. And like Ashley was saying, communicating with our staff to make sure clients are as updated as possible from a day-to-day basis, so we can look, see online, and so they can look and see online, hey, if you have a client that wants to come in, you know exactly the guidelines that we're sticking with. So just keeping that communication up and sticking to that as best we can. And then we are going to be putting in like boxes on the floor to let people know what about a 10-foot square box would look like, so we can not have too many people crossing paths, not sharing equipment. It's when a trainer is with a client, you are going to take up a box and you are going to do your as much of your workout in that area as you needed. You cannot leave that box until everything has been cleaned and put away properly. And then if another box is open and you want to switch to a different piece of equipment, you have that option. But no working in with other clients, no or trainers or anything like that, at least until things are released a little bit more. So those are kind of the big things that we're starting to communicate, so they can prepare for that, to see what it looks like.
Great. So the days of supersetting back and forth, right? Those are kind of gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but that's a great idea. It almost kind of sounds like a little bit of some, musical chairs in the training room when you got everything sanitized there. So some great ideas too. Dan, anything that you want to share?
Yeah, I've always kind of by nature, I guess, been a glass half full type of guy, but I think there's actually going to be a tremendous amount of opportunity as well when we open back up, just in the sense that, those of us gyms that run the small group model and the one-on-one model, I think that's going to be the easiest model to, keep the CDC guidelines and keep cleanliness and keep that perception of an inviting, clean gym. So, I mean, the reality of this is that there's probably going to be about, who knows the number, but 20 to 25% of gyms that shut down by the end of this. And so there's going to be a lot of new clients as well looking for gyms. And I think it's going to be harder for the big box gyms, the gyms that specialize in 30 to 40 people classes to be able to open up safely and operate. So we're looking at it as an opportunity as well to be able to kind of control our product and maybe people as well. We're doing all the same stuff as them as far as like we're going to tape down grids. So when our 4 people are training, they all have their own area. They'll grab their equipment ahead of time, stay in that area the whole time. So there's no sharing of equipment. They're obviously spray it down at the end. Same thing, having like hand sanitizer stands all over, just, all the normal cleanliness stuff. But like I said, we're kind of looking at it as an opportunity as well, and feel like the models that we run here are, maybe better served than some of the larger stuff.
That's great. Yeah, I think to your point, Dan, thinking about this as an opportunity and finding the silver lining in, a situation that we're all in together, I think is an important piece of the mindset, as we all continue to navigate. So if you're watching and listening, trying to think of ways that this can be a good thing for your business, as you mentioned, Dan. As we come out of this, there's going to be some changes in the industry. I think you guys can maybe piggyback or agree or disagree on this, but virtual training is going to be something that may stick around now because everybody's found it as more of a necessity, and maybe some people have enjoyed it more than the other kind. So everybody's going to be adjusting to a lot of things, and I think as each of our panelists here have mentioned, keeping in mind the sanitation practices and protocols that are put forth and guidelines that are put forth within your state, and following those CDC guidelines will be very important. Nothing that is presented here in this webinar, I'll just say this as a caveat, is considered any kind of legal advice. We're once again just talking with these 3 great experts about what they've done and sort of how they've been navigating this very interesting situation that we have all found ourselves in. So I'll let each of you guys just say kind of one final thought here, if you want to add anything else to the discussion. And then we'll close up the webinar here. So Ashley, anything that you would want to add to our listeners, our watchers about, sort of how you've navigated this and sort of anything that they could be considering during this interesting time?
Yeah, I mean, I love what Dan said about looking at it as an opportunity. I think there will be silver linings on the other side. I think the scary part right now is the unknown of, how long is this really going to last, and to what point. So I think as owners right now, one thing that we didn't talk about, but just being really, really mindful of your numbers, being as lean as you can with your expenses, because the studios that can ride this out or maintain themselves through this, I think to Dan's point, there will be opportunity on the other side. So it's just with the unknown of how long are we going to be impacted, because even if we can open in a month, you know, maybe we won't be able to be at full capacity. So we're just going to have to be lean and strategic, because it will be worth it to get through this, because, you know, people are going to need us, and you know, those of us who are able to stick it out are going to have the opportunity to potentially serve even more people. So I'll just leave it with that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ashley, and thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
Mike, anything that you would want to add? Final thoughts?
Yeah, just building off of that, I think there is an opportunity in this and we all have to find it. And I think right now the biggest thing everybody can do is be the leader that our clients need right now. Even if we aren't sure of everything, we can be as proactive as possible. I think we're all kind of tired of reacting to news that we're hearing and getting frustrated. There's plenty that we can do right now to take care of ourselves and prepare for whatever might be next. And I think if we focus on that, it's going to really help our clients out and just continue this once this is over, that they can lean on us whenever they need to, whenever things are going wrong, to be as prepared as they can for anything.
Thanks so much, Mike. Thanks for being with us here today. Dan, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I would just say try to avoid falling into the one size fits all mentality. I'm sure a lot of people are going to test. You're already seeing on Facebook different marketing gurus and stuff. That's, you know, the CDC playbook, how to get members. But the reality is, like, nobody really knows. Nobody's been through this before. There's not a playbook of like one thing that every gym can do or whatever. So my advice would just be, you know, it's ever changing. Be ready to adapt. Leverage your mentors, leverage other gym owners you trust, work together in this. But stuff's going to be changing week from week. There's not a one size fits all blueprint. So I think it's important to not get stuck in that mindset and to be able to adapt on a weekly, you know, daily, monthly timeline. And then the reality is we'll probably have to keep in some type of Zoom training for the people that don't want to come back in. We're going to have our normal people that want to come back in to the brick and mortar that will have to adhere to the CDC stuff. And it's just, I mean, if I can say one thing, it's just adapt and leverage other mentors and gym owners that you trust, and kind of, you know, steal ideas from everybody, and don't fall into that one size fits all, because nobody has a playbook for this. Nobody's been through this. It's unprecedented times, and I think anybody that tells you they know exactly what to do through this is probably lying. So.
Right, you're absolutely right, Dan. You know, we all are in this together. So hopefully, leveraging people like this, people like our panelists here today, the knowledge that you guys have shared has been very helpful, I think, as a lot of our comments are coming in and questions popping up. Our viewers have enjoyed listening and hearing from people who are going through this right now and sort of navigating it as we all are. So I thank you each for your time today. And we will try and continue the conversation with you all. If you guys want to be a part of our Facebook chat, we can continue to ask questions there on our Facebook page, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Perfect. So we will be hearing a little bit more from our panelist, Dan Kleppner, owner of Cutting Edge Fitness in Washington, thank you. Mike Diebler from San Diego, owner of San Diego Premier Training, thank you very much. And Ashley Selman from the Bay Area, owner of Evolution Trainers. We thank you guys so much for joining us on this ACE live panel, and join us on our next live webinar that will be coming up later next month. So thank you all for listening and watching today. Thank you once again, panelists, for being here.
All right, thank you.
It was great.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Let's get people moving.